Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Questioning Everything. We are on episode 49, Hidden Pyramids Worldwide. Thank you all for joining me here live tonight, and I appreciate your guys' understanding with Tuesday. We will have a makeup episode here on Sunday, same time, live here. So we will be closing up our third part and final part of our series on hidden pyramids across the world. We spent the last two episodes talking primarily about the pyramids in North America. We went underwater with the pyramids in Cuba. We talked about the 1909 Grand Canyon discovery and the Smithsonian's involvement, including John Wesley Powell's involvement with all of this cover up in North America's history. Talked about Tumtum Mountain. We talked about Rock Lake's underwater pyramid, Monk's Mound in Illinois, Pyramid Lake, and of course, Cuba. Tonight, we're truly glowing worldwide to finish the series. We'll start with the buried pyramids of Mexico and how dramatically different they looked before excavation. Then we'll examine the mysterious white pyramids of China. After that, we're adding a major new section on European pyramid claims, including Russia, France, Italy, Rome, and then the highly controversial Bosnian pyramids. We'll finish deeper with a look at Antarctica and then tie the entire worldwide pattern together. This has been a very fun and revealing series for me, and I feel like even though we've spent two episodes, this being the third one now, on pyramids, we've just really scratched the surface. I think there'll definitely be more on this pyramid series to come, but I thought, doing more than three episodes on one subject in a row might get a little tiresome. So we'll be on to even deeper and darker rabbit holes coming up this week, including some great interviews that I have lined up. One of my favorite ones that I'm most excited for, well, I'm excited for all of them, but I got in contact with Owen Benjamin. And if you don't know who he is, check out some of his content. He's primarily on X. He goes live on X a lot. He just was on the Tucker Carlson show, a couple other big podcasts. So I'll be interviewing him, I believe, coming up next Thursday. So I'm really excited about that one. And then I have a couple more interviews on deck, including one, I believe, next Wednesday, but I'm not sure. I want to lock in the time before I announce that one. But next Thursday's episode will more than likely, depending on his timing, will not be live. But, I mean, if we can do it live, it'll be great, but it might be too late for him, being different time zones. But anyways, folks, again, thanks all of you for tuning in live. So looking forward to that. Yeah, Big Bear is indeed awesome. Can't wait for that conversation with him. So let's start. We talked a little bit about it last week, ending the show, the pyramids in Mexico, which I believe is a big sign of the buried cataclysm, the last reset. So the pyramids of Mexico, what they actually look like, I showed you guys a few pictures last week. Let me pull those back up. So these are what the pyramids in Mexico look like prior to excavation. Let's see if I can make that full screen. Most people today only see the clean, restored versions of these pyramids, like this. The Pyramid of the Sun or the Pyramid of the Moon, but that's not what they looked like for centuries. And even now, today, as I mentioned a little bit last week, modern day archaeology has only gone so far to excavate them. They have no no intention, it seems like, on a lot of these pyramid sites to go any further down than what you see here. When the Spanish arrived at these pyramids in Mexico, many of these massive structures were almost completely buried under thick layers of mud and dirt. This is what they looked like in 1900, just for an idea, and then what they look like below today. Many of these massive structures were almost completely buried and covered in dense jungle vegetation. To the local populations living there at the time, they simply appeared as ordinary hills and mounds. I mean, look at all of these early photographs here. There's another one. From the late 1800s and early 1900s, many of these pyramids were still covered in earth and overgrown bush. Some look like nothing more than large grassy hills with trees growing on top. It took significant modern excavation work to reveal their true stepped pyramid form. Even more telling about these pyramids is that the indigenous people living in the area when the Spanish arrived reportedly had no knowledge or oral tradition of who originally built these structures. So think about that. Nobody had any idea these were there that were currently inhabiting these lands. They were just all hills. So that would definitely mean, the people that were presently living there when the Spanish arrived would have not been the people that built that land. Because the people that built that land would not let it just get completely erased, completely covered up into a dirt mound hill and lose all knowledge of it. The sheer volume of mud and debris covering these sites, too, they do not look like a slow, gradual cultural layer over centuries. It looks like the result to me of a sudden, massive cataclysmic event, possibly like the mud flood or a tsunami like wave, even. An event that buried these structures rapidly, followed by centuries of jungle growth. I mean, just look at them. It's like one wave of water, one massive flood came, and they just piled up jungle growth over the next decade, centuries. I mean, you see how quickly a forest can overgrow these things. And that's what a lot of our hillsides look like today. We say, wow, they look very much like a pyramid, and all the mainstream has absolutely zero interest in excavating any of these. So the pattern of sudden burial and later forgetting matches exactly what we've seen across North America and other parts of the world. Just these massive, clear pyramids that nobody has any idea how they've got there, how they were built. And pull up a couple more pictures of the Mexican pyramids here. And you can see how much further they go down, going back to the modern day picture of them. And that's pretty much exactly how they sit. The victors wanted them to be forgotten. Exactly, Michael, exactly. And history is indeed written by the victors. This history that Napoleon says is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon. Famously, he was perhaps a figment of this created history of ours as well, I believe. So that was just kind of a quick run through on the Mexican pyramids as well. Jeff, you said, have I seen that video circulating around a pyramid that looks old, but they're old UFO ships fighting around pyramids? I have not seen that particular one, Jeff, but if you can, send me an email about it, if you got a link to that video, I'll check it out. But absolutely, absolutely. Not sure, Nephilim, you said, not sure Tesla was even a real person or more of an imaginary inventor. Has more patents than any one person could ever come up with. Yeah, kind of like Shakespeare, too. They say William Shakespeare is nothing more than a kind of created character to mass produce all of these works, like the mass amount of works that Shakespeare put out, much like Tesla, like the amount of modern day stuff. And he's most part a forgotten inventor. Most of the people, most of the electricity and stuff like that, modern electricity is owed thanks to Tesla. So the next set of pyramids I want to talk about across the world, I'll try and get to as many pyramids as I've pulled up over the week. But like I said, even with this three-part series, I don't think we're going to barely scratch the surface of how many pyramids are out there worldwide. Tomorrow, for our Open Lines Friday, I encourage you guys to leave comments in this video. Join on the Discord here. You can check out the link to the Discord in my bio. And send me pyramids that you know of in your locale or just that we haven't covered yet. Like I said, there are thousands of these pyramids, many of them all seeming to align with the Orion's constellation. Hey, Wolf, how's it going? Good to see you coming in. Good to see you. Same with Einstein and a lot of the other architects that they credit a lot of the old world structures to. Yeah, absolutely, Nephilim Hunter. Absolutely. Einstein definitely is a creation of the mainstream. Same with oh gosh, his Stephen Hawking's. Like, he is nothing more than a robotic voice for the mainstream narrative. Absolutely. So, like I said, the next segment I want to cover, guys, is the White Pyramids of China. There, many of these pyramids, hundreds of them, lie in the area of China. And many of them are completely controlled by the government in China. And even more so, they go through great lengths to try and keep them deliberately covered up and buried. As you'll see in a lot of these photos, they add more earth and plant more trees on top of these pyramids rather than letting any excavation or any architectural or archaeological digs to be done. They intentionally bury them and cover them up with foliage. So in further years, they'll be even less recognizable as the pyramids that they are. There's a few pyramids in China that, again, you can see the deliberate planting of trees rather than any excavation being done on it. The Pacific region has tons of pyramids. Most prominently are these white pyramids formation in China. The complex is said to contain over 100 pyramids just in this white pyramids complex alone in China. Some reportedly much larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Many are covered in white clay or earth, giving them their names of the White Pyramids. You see the pyramids on the top here, that's in Anlong County, China. And then you have another photo down below of the many, many pyramids in South China, just kind of a comparison to the pyramids of Egypt as well. And these Chinese pyramids, as well as the pyramids that we observed in Mexico, and the pyramids in Egypt, and the pyramids that we covered in the Grand Canyon, all align with Orion's belt. That definitely, to me, tells you that this was a worldwide, realm-wide civilization that all had these advanced construction methods. They were not primitive people by any means. Michael, you said you shared some things about maps that showed pre-ice Antarctica in Discord recently. Yeah, I think I've seen those. I haven't had too much time on the internet or on Discord last week. It's, been beautiful, beautiful Memorial Day weekend. I hope you guys had a great Memorial Day weekend as well for those in the States listening. But yeah, we've just been out hitting the parks and all this stuff. My son just had his crossing over ceremony for scouts. That was this Tuesday. That was one of the reasons why I wasn't able to do the show on Tuesday. But even though I don't like scouts, modern day scouts, what it was far different than when I was a kid, it's still pretty cool. It's still pretty cool. And seeing him go from a wolf scout to a bear scout, I know his grandpa would be very, very proud of him. But anywho, back to some of these photos of the pyramids in China. So, like I said, many of these pyramids in this complex are said to be far larger than the pyramid in Giza. These structures were first photographed by American pilots in the 1940s. Here's some pyramids from Anlong, China. Let me see if I can show you some of the original. Here's some of the original photos of the pyramids taken by American pilots in the 1940s during World War II. They described them as incredibly geometric pyramid-shaped mountains rising from the landscape. The Chinese government has since kept the entire area under extreme restrictions for decades. Independent researchers are rarely allowed close access, and satellite imagery is often blurred. However, many photos and images from Google Earth are still you can still find quite a lot on Google Earth still to this day. And I have some photos of that people have pulled up from Google Earth over the years. Let me see if I can find them. So you can see they are still visible, but a lot of them are kind of blurred out, kind of like that French star fort I showed you guys before. They go to great lengths to blur out these Chinese pyramids, and the Chinese government allows very little access to them because it would completely restrict or rewrite Chinese history. As we already know, China and Tartaria had a lot of history shared, and the ones that actually built this wall, the Great Wall of China, was actually the Great Wall of Tartaria, as we know. Let me show you guys this photo. These are just a few collections people have found in China over the years of these pyramids. And I mean, they are just clear as day pyramids to me. New Zealand is very interesting. There's that Red Skull doco talking about white people being in New Zealand before. Okay, yeah, I've never heard of that documentary. Yeah, New Zealand has a lot of interesting history, much like Australia, a lot of beautiful old world architecture, crazy construction times, crazy history of how and who built them. Reverend, you said it gets crazier because I discovered something that changes even global understanding of paleontology. But unless you know biology and petrification and decomposition, you wouldn't get it. Yes, yes. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, Reverend. Shoot me an email. Let's discuss further on that. Absolutely, absolutely. So let me just show you guys a few more pictures of the pyramids in China as well. But officially, the Chinese government says these are nothing more than just ancient burial mounds or just hills from the Han Dynasty. However, the size, the geometric precision, and cardinal alignments, as shared with many of the other pyramids we have covered in this series, suggest something far older and more advanced, worldwide advanced. I believe that's why I don't talk about Tartaria a lot, particularly because it's become more of like a catch all phrase for like anything old world, anything unexplained, anything that's not of the mainstream. It's Tartaria. Was Tartaria a big civilization? Yes, but I believe there are many grand and advanced civilizations, like the Atlanteans, etc., that have came and went in the many resets of our history. And modern day doesn't even want to acknowledge it, let alone dig up any of these sites. So when we add everything that we've covered so far, the white pyramids make the global pyramids pattern even harder to dismiss. It's just one more of the many layers of the pyramid onion. Before we move on, let me just kind of show you a few more. This one was from Google Earth as well, of the pyramids in China. There are the coordinates below on them as well. See that on the screen with me here? Okay, yeah, the coordinates are right down at the bottom if you guys want to pop those in. They're not too blurry. Yeah, that's just another one of the many pyramid complexes over China. Whenever I think of pyramids, I think about Alien versus Predator in the scene when they are at the Aztec pyramids. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I believe a lot of media kind of plays little hints to the old world and stuff like that. Those type of scenes always kind of resonate with me as well, and I think about them often as well. All these movies in modern day all seem to have a resonance back to old world mythology, like Marvel with Thor, the god of thunder, Odin, Ragnarok, all of that stuff. They all talk about these old world stories, and they can't create their own. They have to keep reusing mythology and kind of telling it as nothing more than a myth. But as we've seen with a lot of stuff we covered, like dragons and giants, they're anything but just myths. Just like the stars all around the world, the pyramids, I believe, are repurposed by multiple civilizations throughout history. I absolutely agree with you, Mike. I believe they're very old and they've been repurposed and then just outright forgotten about in many cases, like the pyramids in Mexico. Um, they've been repurposed as many things over the years. You got to understand how old ancient Egypt is. During our ancient Egypt, they were studying ancient Egypt. That's how far back it went. And I mean, like, we didn't talk all about Egypt as well, but how they worked to not let anyone dig up anything more in Egypt. So now let's kind of go around the globe a little bit more quicker, kind of hit some individual sites. Here are the pyramids in Bosnia. This is one of the more controversial ones. These pyramids are massive, and another one of many versions of a government that allows no excavation, no dig sites on them. So the three pyramid sites in Bosnia, you have the Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of the Sun, and the Pyramid of the Earth. They're geometrically shaped, very linear sides with clear defined edges. They have all flattened tops, like Latin and South American pyramids, paved with stone slabs. Thermal satellite images show hills cool off more quickly than others in this area. Pyramid material absorbs less heat than soil. Hills contain hollow areas. Huge polished stone blocks cut in cubes and placed on top of each other found beneath the soil in various areas of this pyramid complex. And again, the pyramid site aligns with the Orion constellation. Here is some of these photos of the pyramids of Bosnia. There's some random ones that I've collected as well. There are pyramids, Reverend. Yeah, absolutely. Pyramids in New Zealand as well. I don't think I have any of them this time around, but they'll definitely be in the extended segment on these pyramids. So I try and cover as much as I can, but I thought, should I do a 4 or 5 part series? But I thought 3 would be right, and then maybe cover another couple topics, and then jump back into another one. We'll talk a lot about it tomorrow night, being that it's Open Lines Friday. So come to me with any of your pyramid suggestions then as well. Like I said, just drop me a chat, drop me a comment, drop me a line in Discord, and we'll talk about them tomorrow night's show. You can see just the clear geometric angles that Mother Nature does not reproduce so symmetrically across the landscape here. And again, it's just covered in foliage. But you can see, especially from these aerial shots, how clear that they are a pyramid. They're just buried. There's some kind of laser scans shot of them. Here's another pyramid, Bosnia, another one. These were some of the chambers that they found and what little digs that they have been able to do in Bosnia. So these pyramid sites were first discovered in 2005, and they claim to be far older than the pyramids in Egypt even, and far larger. The largest is called the Pyramid of Sun, and it rises over 200 meters. Mainstream archaeology strongly disputes these claims, calling them nothing more than natural hills. However, the few independent researchers that have been allowed to dig around over the years there since 2005 point to the extremely geometric shapes of these hills, these underground tunnel systems, as seen here, and anomalous energy readings in concrete like material and polished stone as evidence that these artificial structures are from a much older civilization that was lost to us. The 7 tablets of creation is worth a read. I'll give that I'll jot that down here. Thanks for that, Reverend. And again, when you add these European examples to everything else we've covered in North America, Mexico, and China, it forms a very clear pattern, a pattern that a worldwide ancient civilization built these pyramids, built them for purpose, aligned them with the same star formations for purpose. And we are made to be deliberately clueless about that. Here's some of the photos from some of the excavation sites on the pyramid site in Bosnia, some of the areas that they dug these sites up at. You can see like clear stone work, stacked stones, carved stones, cornered edges. And again, the mainstream community dismisses anyone that wants to talk about these as pyramids because it will completely throw off the mainstream narrative. And it'll really open people's eyes to so many other pyramid sites. Let's see a couple more photos of Bosnia before I move on. Oh yeah, look at that one. That's, just clear as day. Even more than that Tumtum Mountain. I think this is the Pyramid of Sun. That's like 200 meters tall, I believe. Like twice the size, 3 times the size of the pyramids in Giza, if I remember right. I think the government purposely keeps them unrestored. All of these sites, the pyramids in the US, at least, see-through LiDAR, stay within property lines. Yeah, they definitely do. we talked a lot about how much land the government owns in like America and how much of those pyramids do fall in restricted sites. Absolutely. They purposely leave them unrestored, purposely leave them covered in dirt. They will rewrite all of history as we know it. Yeah, because it's natural energy and current human population is reliant on dirty energy. Yes, absolutely there, Reverend. Absolutely. Great point. Great point. So let's talk about a few more pyramids in Europe now that we're in the Bosnian pyramid range. Just a couple more photos before we move on. See all these supposed sites from this ancient civilization in Bosnia, all the ones that the government will refuse any excavation permits to be done on them. And again, the biggest one, the Pyramid of the Sun right here, that's the one with those caverns underground I showed you in that one picture. It just really shows a whole massive ancient civilization complex right dwarfing the modern day Bosnia. And nobody wants to acknowledge it in the mainstream. So here are some other ones as well from Europe. Let me see what one first. Okay, this one is in France. This is a smaller one, but it's like a mausoleum pyramid that I just like the photo of it from the old world when I believe it was, uncovered. Um, this was like in the mid 1800s when this photo was taken. You can see the inheritors standing around it, not knowing at all what it is. Hang on, my photos are taking a minute to pull up. Sorry, folks. There we go. It just looks like a lot of the other founded photos, especially the ones that I've showed you guys in America. All these people all dressed uniformly in these suits, these hats, and they're just standing alongside this ancient architecture that we're told is supposed to be just some kind of mausoleum to an ancient ruler. Um, it's the Pyramid of Falcone, I believe it's pronounced, in near Nice, a small but clear man-made pyramid. And there are many other claims in France as well, larger, possibly buried pyramid structures in French countrysides in the Alps regions that have received very little official investigation. And of course, the pyramid that they built in modern times near the Louvre, this big giant glass pyramid. I mean, it's just kind of repurposed and restructured, kind of put in our faces in the modern day, right? The elites, the parasites that run the show today, still use these type of structures, still use their benefits for their good. We get the dirty energy, and they still use the clean energy, as you put it, Reverend. Chandra Star, you said Tesla had a state funeral. He's as legit as Musk, in my opinion. I mean, I go back and forth with Tesla's legitness. There are photos of him. There are many accounts of him. Um, and yeah, he did get a state funeral. All of his work went to the federal government. It went to Donald Trump's uncle, believe it or not. Surprise, surprise. And that, could talk a lot about like time travel theory and the wonderful misadventures of Baron Trump. And I believe the book's called, where Baron Trump was a time traveler with his companion Don. And this book was written in the 1800s, mind you. And the other book in the Baron Trump time travel series was The Last President of America. That's kind of just a quick gloss through of those two books. But yeah, guys ever are interested in like a time travel episode, we can definitely talk about that book series for sure. But there's just a few pictures of pyramids in France. Let's go over to some pyramids in Faroe Island. So, Faroe Island is kind of near the North Pole region, and it's officially owned by Denmark, kind of like by the whole Greenland area. But there's this island, it's called Faroe's Island, and there are several pyramid, my opinion, clear pyramids there. And very little is done in the mainstream to dig up or look into any of them. Here's just two of them. This is in Faroes Island. Let me see if I can pull up. Let me see, maybe like Google Earth to show you guys exactly where it is. This is just kind of a little isolated island area near the North Pole. One of those regions that they don't allow us to have much independent exploration of. Faroe Island. Yeah, so it's owned by the Kingdom of Denmark. It's comprised of 18 rocky volcanic islands. Let me show my Google Earth screen here for you guys, so you can see just how close to the North Pole it is. The alleged North Pole, I should say. Sorry, my whole riverside, I'm not used to the new update. It's kind of a little different. Okay, here we go. All right, so it's kind of by Norway, by Iceland, Greenland area, kind of like near the area of the North Pole. One of those islands there, owned by the Kingdom of Denmark, near Iceland. You said you found a collection. We'll put the link to the download page in Discord under books. Okay, awesome, Michael. Yeah, so Michael has done a great job at kind of organizing our Discord page, and thanks again for that, Michael. He's done a lot of good cataloging and topics that are created, some group chats there for you guys to share whatever findings you have as well, books, photos, websites, videos, etc. There's all different catalogs in our Discord chat. You can find what users are sharing, what I'm sharing and talking about as well, before or after the show. Great place to do that at. Let's look up Rupus Nigre at the North Pole. How does that show up? So if you look at the North Pole on Google Earth, you can't really see Rupus Nigre, but you can see, if you like kind of zoom in at certain angles with it on the time lapse, you can see, I just had it pulled up. For one, it's very weird. When you look at both the North Pole and the South Pole, you'll see these odd circles when you go to the time lapses, where it won't show anything but just this weird, like, blocked off segmented circle. But you can see right here, there it is. I don't know if you guys can see it on screen, those four little lines, those four little islands, just like we showed you in those previous old world maps. When you zoom in on it, you can kind of see just like a glimpse of it at certain angles in time lapse. I'm trying to see if I can get it. But when you zoom in officially, you don't see anything but water. It's just water. But I'll pull up a picture of that map that I'm talking about. You can kind of see it like flash right in the middle, right where my mouse pointer is when I zoom in from this layer. I don't want to spend too much time on that. But now I got to show you guys the map as well. I'll show you that before the end of the night. I want to show you some more of those Faroe Island pyramids. Here's those first two. Another angle of them here. And again, The mainstream narrative is they're just nothing more than wind erosioned hills that are just natural formations. This is another top of one of the, I mean, just clearly looks like pyramids to me. But us common folks will never be allowed to know, right? We just have to trust the experts. Another site, and I mean, there are hundreds of islands in the Arctic Circle that are just impossible for any one of us in the, you know, any one of us normies to just go and book a cruise there. You have to basically book your own excavation, or you book your own whole package. You have to rent the icebreaker ships, you have to rent the Arctic gear, the experts to take you there. There's not really like any tour packages for the North Pole. Yeah, I believe that the big black rock is a magnet and there is no South Pole. Plus, yeah, I get why you said that. Absolutely, Scott. Absolutely. And that's what they're referring to as Rupus Nigri. I'll show you guys that after these photos here. So Rupus Nigri was, if you remember, we've done an episode on those old world maps showing those four land masses with that big black iron mountain called Rupus Nigri. That was why all of our compasses are pointing north. Even when you're on the supposed South Pole, whether you believe in it or not, your compass will still always point north because of this giant magnetic mountain. Let me see if I can pull some photos up of that map here, folks, before we move on. Here we go. If I remember right from that episode that we did, this was from the 1500s Mercator map and many other. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Sorry about that issue with my stream cutting out. Don't know what happened. Just my whole tab's closed. And when I reopened, tried to rejoin the stream, it would not let me. So I had to restart another one, and it wouldn't let me do it for any time other than 11:45. But that's okay here, folks. Glad all of you guys who caught the message, who were able to tune back in. Thanks to the admins, Michael, Nephilim Hunter, making sure everybody got that message out. We'll jump right back into it, folks. Let's talk about the pyramids in Antarctica. One of the most mysterious locations on the entire planet when it comes to pyramid structures, especially. So there are many formations of pyramids located throughout the frozen lands of Antarctica. Let me just pull up a compilation photo for you guys to see them all while I talk a little bit about the landscapes there and how it's anything but the penguins that we're told. And we've talked a little bit about Antarctica in the past. Definitely should do a deep dive episode of it soon. This is just a few compilation photos of some of the pyramids that have been recorded throughout recent years in Antarctica. When most people think of Antarctica, they picture ice, snow, and penguins. What they don't picture is pyramids. But for years now, researchers have been pointing to multiple mountain formations on the continent that look remarkably geometric. The most famous ones are located in the Ellsworth mountain range. From certain angles, and especially from satellite imagery, several of these peaks show extremely clean, straight lines, sharp, triangular faces, and what appears to be flat tops or steeped features. Some of them look almost identical to man made pyramids when viewed from above. The mainstream says these are just natural geological formations, basically rock peaks sticking out of the ice sheets that resemble pyramids. They claim it's all just erosion or plate tectonics. But when you look at the symmetry on some of these structures, it becomes very difficult to accept that explanation. This is one of the particular formations that stand out. It has four very distinct, almost perfectly pure, triangular sides that meet at a clear apex. The proportions are very striking, and if you saw the same shape in Egypt or Mexico, nobody would question whether it was a pyramid. But because it's in Antarctica, it's automatically labeled as natural. And you can see just kind of a breakdown. This is one of the views of it from Google Earth. This is in the Ellsworth mountain range. There's another one as well. This is a really good Google Earth photo of it here from the Ellsworth mountain range. Again, three distinct pyramid-shaped objects, structures that are, again, in alignment with Orion's belt. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah, looks like a lot of you guys have joined back in. For those not watching live, you pick up the second part. I'm going to put like a full version of it together in YouTube and Spotify and everything like that. So sorry again, yeah, for that interruption, folks, with the stream. Hope you guys all found it back. God see you, Scott and Judy. So what makes this even more suspicious with Antarctica is how locked down it is. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, basically turned the entire continent into an international zone. Independent explorers and researchers are heavily restricted from visiting many areas. Certain regions are completely off limits of Antarctica. Most of Antarctica is off limits, actually. And there have been persistent reports of military presence, as we've talked about before, and restricted airspace. Anyone that passes that 60th parallel south, if you are not part of a sanctioned government-sponsored expedition, you are instantly basically turned away. They have military patrols, they have satellite patrols, they have drone patrols in the area. Not to mention, just getting to Antarctica is naturally quite difficult. So if you have a boat or something, like most independent boats are not going to make it across Drake's Passage, for example. And the independent expeditions that you can, or the expeditions that you can book to Antarctica, are in the tens of thousands of dollars range. And really, they only show you like the peninsula, the tip of Antarctica, and very few regions around there. I think you go to like an island off of Antarctica and like a couple other spots, but you're not allowed any independent exploration. And it's been the longest standing international treaty with all these nations ever. I mean, all these nations have been going to war since 1959, off and on, and still the Antarctic Treaty is in place. And in part, it's very much for regions like the Ellsworth mountain range, like this, where there's so many clear pyramid-shaped objects that they don't want you poking around. It's, very hard to get any type of permits or anything if you're a participating member government of this treaty to do anything other than those pre-approved expeditions that you can take. And again, they're like tens of thousands of dollars, way out of the reach of the normal people like you and me. Yes, the Antarctic Circle stuff. Yeah, absolutely. What fascinates me is the ongoing narrative when so many have eyes to see. Yeah, it's absolutely me too, Kristen. And despite all this evidence you show them, they will still just default to what the mainstream narrative is. That's just natural formations. Oh, you can go to Antarctica. Sure, you can go to Antarctica on a $10,000 trip that'll show you just the tip of it, the peninsula of Antarctica. I mean, why is there such extreme control over a frozen wasteland? What exactly are they protecting or studying that requires this level of secrecy. If you remember, like in the 2010s, a bunch of elites, like I think even who is it, Neil Armstrong and stuff, like a bunch of people, John Kerry, all took these trips to Antarctica at the same time, and they had like some odd tweets about it. There's clearly a lot there that we are not allowed to talk about. Like I said, we can do a whole episode on Antarctica, but in the meantime, just kind of focusing on some of the pyramids of. Here's one of the aerial views, one of the better ones from Google Earth. I mean, you can see especially that center pyramid. I mean, 100% clearly a pyramid. I mean, just remove the snow and put in the sand here, and it would look just like the pyramids of Giza. So, some researchers in the community have gone further to suggest that what we see sticking out of the ice here are just the very tops of massive pyramids. That the majority of these buildings could still be buried under this ice sheet. And we're just seeing the very small tips of a much larger pyramid system, perhaps even dwarfing the pyramids of Bosnia, the pyramids of Giza that we've talked about. And it makes sense. You see a lot of maps with Antarctica on there centuries before it was supposedly discovered in the 1800s. But it shows the continent of Antarctica as a lush tropical region with palm trees, beasts, and other animals across the lands. Nothing like the frozen wasteland that we see under meters of ice today. So much like the mud buried everything in the non frozen areas of our realm, the sheets of ice froze everything in Antarctica. I mean, I'm not suggesting it's an ice wall or anything like that. You know, like I've talked about my ideas of flat Earth in the past, you know, definitely flat Earth adjacent, open to the ideas of it all, but it's very odd, Antarctica, and how they say it was discovered in the 1800s, but it was on maps, old world maps, long, long before its supposed discovery. And the idea lines up, like I said, with old world maps, like the Piers Res map, which was like in 1400s, I believe, which appears to show Antarctica with rivers and mountains before it was supposedly covered in sheets of ice. When you put the Antarctica pyramids together with all the other pyramids we've covered, Tumtum Mountain, the Grand Canyon, Rock Lake, Monk's Mound, the buried Mexican pyramids, the White Pyramids of China, and the Bosnian pyramids, the pattern of a worldwide civilization with the same architecture, much like we see with the, well, I guess we all call it Tartarian architecture, the Greco-Roman Roman architecture. We're looking at worldwide civilization building geometric pyramid-shaped structures across this realm on every continent on Earth, including Antarctica, including the northern pole regions, Canada, America, China, everywhere. We just looked, I'd say maybe 100 or so examples of pyramids in this three-part series. There are hundreds, if not thousands, more out there to cover. Why the obsession with building perfect pyramids everywhere? Were they made by just an ancient people with limited technology and they all so happen to build the exact same formations with the exact same alignment to the stars? Or were there something much larger at work here? What are they all hiding? Is it like satellites that they are hiding whilst being the largest consumer of helium in Earth, aka NASA? Yeah. Satellite images. I mean, if you look at some of the satellite images on Antarctica, most of it is hidden and blurred out, especially in the central part of the continent. There's a lot of oddities about Antarctica. Like I said, we can have a full video deep dive on Antarctica. We talked about it in a few episodes in the past, but it has been a while, as we are almost up to episode 50 now, guys. So we can definitely revisit some of those topics that we've discussed. Yeah, especially love the maps that show the Antarctic Circle, as all ancient civilizations did before the Catholic globe narrative. Yeah, absolutely, Scott. Yeah, and that's what we were talking about a little bit before the stream cut out. The Antarctic Circle with that map. I don't know if I have that saved up. I had it pulled up right before my stream crashed. I dare not try and find it again. No, I don't have the photo pulled up, Scott. But yeah, we'll talk more about like the South Pole or the southern region of this realm and the northern region of this realm again in a more detailed dive on it. I want to cover a few more pyramids as well as they stand. But just to show you some of these pyramids in Antarctica, and like I said, there are tons more mysterious structures, mud fossils, and many more mysteries about Antarctica that we can cover in more depth. But those are just a little bit on the pyramids in Antarctica. So a few Russian pyramids as well. And forgive me if I mispronounce these names, but I want to show you guys these as also. So there are multiple pyramid-shaped structures in Russia, particularly in the Ural Mountains, parts of Siberia, where we think the old world Tartaria was. And you can see a lot of crater lakes in that Siberian region where it looks like the cities aligned on the Tartarian maps look like they were literally bombed, carpet bombed. But a few photos of some of the pyramids in Russia. So I can kind of rush through these real quick and move on to a few more before the end of the episode. So this one is in Krasnoyarsk, Russia. Forgive me if I pronounced it wrong. You can see the name on the top here. This is a photo from off of the highway in Krasnoyarsk. You can see a very clear pyramid shape there. And another one here in Vladivostok, Russia. If I pronounce that name wrong, again, I apologize. Another dual pyramid site here. This one looks very awesome. Just a few in Russia that I have. There's many, many more, but just wanted to kind of highlight a few of each area worldwide. Let's talk a little bit about the pyramids in Rome and Italy as well here. So in Rome, we have the well-known pyramid of Cestius, built around 12 BC, they say. I'll pull up some photos of that real quick. But there are also several other pyramids in Rome and Italy. Here's one particularly. It's off of Lago. It's Lago di Padelico. I probably butchered that name again. Anybody listening from Italy, I apologize. Here's one photo of it here. I have more on the region. I kind of just want to rush through it now, as we already kind of had that issue with the stream earlier. So this is one off of a lake in Italy. And here's the name up top here for you guys. You can pronounce it better than me. And then let's show the other one, the more famous one known in Rome, though it just looks very much out of place with all the other architecture that we see in the city of Rome. Much controversies behind that, right? How it was just abandoned up until like the 1700s, pretty much. Seems like history just completely stopped and a lot of things just picked up right off the end of the 1700s, the founding of America. Oh, where is the picture of that pyramid in Rome? Here we go. I apologize for the autofocus on my camera. I don't know how to fix it. I've tried multiple times to fix it. I'm looking at getting another one where I can actually tweak the settings, because I am aware of the autofocus issue, but it's just nothing I could do seems to stop it. But moving on here. So yeah, this is the more famous known pyramid in the city of Rome proper in Italy. But you can just see how out of place it looks from all the other structures that we've come across among the many areas of Rome in the past. Some researchers question, myself included, whether the Romans were copying much older pyramid designs they found already present in the region that were scattered reports of older buried pyramid-like structures in Italy, like the one I showed you off that lake, that may predate Roman times, including this one. Look how just out of place it looks from the castle-like structure in Rome here to the pyramid. It was like they either built Rome around this pyramid because of the power and the energy they know that it possessed, or they perhaps copied a design from all the other pyramids they discovered in the region. I'm not sure, but it's a very interesting one. Here's one in the 1800s time of it. It looks very old and weathered, even compared to that very old and weathered castle near it. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Do you guys think it was a copied one, or maybe they built Rome around this pyramid? What stone was, I believe, limestone. I'm not sure for sure off of that Roman one. Built in the 12 BC, officially a Roman era tomb. That's kind of all I know on the top of my head on it. I'm pretty sure it was limestone, though. I mean, you can look at it, kind of looks like limestone or some sandstone. And then some of these older, maybe granite, I'm not sure. I don't want to just wildly guess there. It looks clearly restored from the older photos of it, though. But yeah, everybody knows what it's made out. Yeah, built around. That's kind of what I think too, Kristen. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the big picture of all these pyramids, folks. Let's take a few more regions here. Here's one in Kisamaga, Japan. Might mispronounce this one, but just showing you guys a few more pyramids worldwide here before I kind of wrap up and talk about the bigger picture of it all. Another pyramid in Japan. Very interesting one. They say this is again a natural formation, but it looks like a much larger pyramid just peeking out of the surface here in Japan. Don't have too much more on that. Just another kind of set of my mini pyramid photos I pulled out for the show. Let's see here. Okay, here's another one in Elqui Valley. That's Elqui Valley in Chile. Another formation they say is just a natural formation, but let's take a look here. Let me know what you guys think of it. Pyramid or natural formation. So yeah, right here, just right off the edge, and they're even using part of that pyramid as farmland, it looks like. This is in Elqui Valley in Chile. Some side shots of it. But yeah, this is another one that looks very much like a obvious pyramid. Oh, no, let's not delete that file. I have a close-up shot of it. Let me know what you guys think, though. Very much looks like a pyramid from this angle, too, from afar. Okay, let's see. Another couple ones I have pulled out. Did Russia, did Mexico, did Italy. Mostly all the ones that I think I wanted to cover. A little bit about Bosnia that I wanted to kind of discuss more with you guys. I kind of left out. What I find interesting of it is that they work to great lengths to, much like all the other sites, allow any other independent archaeological excavation or anything to be done on these Bosnian pyramid sites, and just the massive size and scale about the Bosnian pyramids. Those are like the largest pyramids that I've came across. Like I said, it's about 300 meters tall, the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia. And they have large caverns. Let me see if I can pull up my notes here, a little bit more of what I wanted to talk about on them. Shoot. Yeah, so there's also a series of chambers and tunnels underneath all of these pyramids. Ravni tunnels are what they're called. They run many kilometers, many meters beneath the valley, contain large stone megaliths and strange symbols carved into them. And they're all interconnected to these three pyramids: the Pyramid of Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Pyramid of the Dragon, the three pyramids in Bosnia that are all connected and again aligned in that Orion formation. Kind of wanted to mention a little bit of that man-made ravine that they uncovered, those man-made tunnels that they uncovered in Bosnia that I kind of left out when we talked about it previously. Are these just triangular structures, or do they have openings to go inside them? Well, that's a great point, Alice. I believe they do have openings to go inside them. They are just triangular structures now because they're buried under earth and, foliage, and none of the governments of these pyramids, the governments that contain these pyramids, like the White Pyramids in China, for example, will allow any excavations of these sites. So there's no entrances visible. But I'm sure if you dug down a little bit, like if you looked at the pyramids in Mexico, how they looked before they were dug out, I mean, there was no entrances until major modern excavation work was done on them. Let me just pull back up those pyramids from the 1900s here. This was the pyramids in Mexico. I mean, there'd be no way of accessing any of these pyramids from that photo above. Took major work to get it. But yeah, there's major entranceways and caverns in these pyramids in Mexico and many of these other sites. But as is the case with a lot of our history, it is restricted, geographically, majorly. The governments restrict all of these sites. The pyramids and the Grand Canyon are one of the more heavily restricted, heavily patrolled ones. And you got to ask, why are all of these sites happen to be under such strict patrols and such strict regulations where we can't actually dig up the truth ourselves? It's because we're not in a free and independent society like they like to tell us we are. And it would completely rewrite history, right? Okay. So, to kind of wrap up the episode for tonight, the big picture of all of what we've covered in the last 3 episodes, what does it all mean? So let's bring everything together here for the evening. Over these 3 episodes, we've examined Tumtum Mountain and its unnatural symmetry, the 1909 Grand Canyon underground city and the Smithsonian involvement. We've talked about the Rock Lake underwater pyramids in Rock Lake, Wisconsin. We've looked at Monk's Mound and many other mound sites like the mound sites in Ohio, the Pyramid Lakes in California and the Pyramid Lakes in Nevada, the underwater structures off of Cuba, the pyramid sites in underwater there. We talked about the pyramids in Mexico, the White Pyramids of China, and the pyramids in Antarctica. Plus, we looked at Russia, Italy, France, many other places. And really, like I said, in these 3 episodes, hour and a half long each, we really just scraped the surface of how many pyramids are still left to discuss. The pattern is global. These are not isolated anomalies. The evidence strongly suggests that a worldwide advanced civilization built these massive pyramid structures. and that a major cataclysmic event or mini series of events buried them, flooded them, or covered much of these works. What we're left with today are the largest, most durable remnants that have survived the many resets of this realm. This is why institutions like the Smithsonian and many other across the world appear to have worked so hard to suppress or downplay these discoveries. Admitting the truth would require rewriting the entire history of human civilization on this planet. This series has been about more than just pyramids. It's about questioning the official story of who we are and where we really came from. So, were these pyramids part of a ancient worldwide connected power grid? That is truly what I believe they were for. They were part of a much larger power grid, utilizing the ether from the air above, the limitless power from the ether above. It was the same technologies that Tesla, whether you believe him real or fictitious, discussed and talked about tapping into. And up until recent times, the ether was very much a known element, a known part of scientific discussion, but it was removed in the whole modern day standardization, the modern education programs funded by the Rockefellers, JP Morgans, and all of those elite families, those parasite families that we talk about. They erased all true knowledge of the old world and of these ancient civilizations. Like I said, Tartaria is just a placeholder that many use to describe anything off of the mainstream narrative of history, but there has been many Tartarias, many civilizations like Tartaria that utilized this realm's abundant resources that should be free and open and available to all of us. That's what I believe parts of what these pyramid complexes were used for. That is why they were worldwide before any of these civilizations across continents supposedly sailed these oceans, before they had any other communications with Egypt or anywhere else. They were all building the same pyramids in the same star formation alignments. There are reasons for that. Reasons we can only speculate on today, as most of it is locked away, kept away, hidden, and buried. I mean, if you look at recent discoveries in Egypt, we are far from getting to the bottom of what is all there. There's a second Sphinx that supposedly was just uncovered, um, chambers that go several kilometers deep from the pyramids, connecting with these large rods, looking very much like a free energy type structure. Of course, we'll learn very little of it, I'm sure, if anything. The Egyptian government, especially, is one of the strictest about digging up any of these sites. I mean, we've known about many more sites in Egypt for years, but we just aren't allowed to dig up around them. It is a very restrictive thing, probably even more restrictive than Antarctica, to be honest with you. So let's take a few of your guys' questions to wrap up the episode, some of the comments I've seen throughout the night, and then we'll talk a little bit about tomorrow's episode, and we'll leave it at that. Okay, let's see. Took it off of the elements of the periodic table. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Michael. I believe that was like shortly after Tesla's death, if I remember right. No, it was before that, I believe. But it was like same time frame, mid 1800s, late 1800s, that ether was removed, and it was like vilified in the scientific community. Like anyone that was even discussing ether as an element, it was they were vilified for it. A couple more questions here. So glad a lot of them have been restored, at least on the outside. Yeah, I'm glad that some of them have been restored. So, I mean, we can at least get a template, like the Egyptian pyramids, some of them at least partially restored. I believe what they restore them to are still far from their actual full scale and size. They go much deeper than they show us. Like if you look at the pyramids of Egypt, for example, it's built on a like false level, like a false sandstone level. I think I showed you guys that picture actually last week. Let me see if I can pull it back up here. And throw you guys whatever other questions you guys like here before the end of the night. If I don't get to them tonight, I will answer them more tomorrow during the open lines episode. I don't know where I put that picture. Oh well. Anyways. Yeah, so tomorrow we will be doing our Open Lines Friday episode. We will have a bonus episode on Sunday. The topic of that episode is going to be on the lighthouses across the old world, their purposes, their true purposes, and their uses. And I'm talking a little bit about this and that, kind of try and keep it open-ended and answers more of your questions as well on Sunday. Friday, we'll have our regular Open Lines Friday episode. If you guys want to call into the show and chat even for a couple minutes, you can do that. Just drop a message in Discord to me. We'll get you put into a queue and we can get you on the show. All you need is an internet connection. You don't need a webcam or anything like that, just your phone and an internet connection. I'll send you a link to call when you call in, I should say, but it's really just clicking on a link, kind of like a webinar or like a web type of conference, like a GoToMeeting type link. And you'll just kind of join into the studio live and you just chat about anything about the pyramids that we've covered in the last 3 episodes, some of the last couple guests I've had on, or anything else you guys want to talk about. Open Lines Friday is all about what you guys want to chat about. Again, some upcoming guest, Owen Benjamin, will be on the program this Thursday. I'm really excited about that. I have a couple more guests coming up. I believe one on Wednesday I'll be interviewing. So we'll have maybe a bonus episode next week as well. Yes, ma'am, Kristen. Lighthouses will be our topic on Sunday. Do you know if any of these pyramids were built close to an ancient mining operations? Yes. I mean, if you look at the Grand Canyon, right next to the Grand Canyon sites, in a lot of areas in the Grand Canyon, it looks like an ancient strip mine. And a lot of these mountain sites, they all look like kind of ancient strip mines around them. And the pyramids of Egypt and stuff, they quarried the stones from several miles away, they say down the Nile or whatever you want to believe there. But yeah, a lot of these sites do look like they have been built on ancient mining operations. You're absolutely spot on there. And again, Alice, they are very much, indeed, a lot of these are on ley lines. We can maybe pull up some visualizations of that for you guys on tomorrow's episode, Open Lines Friday. Think pyramids are mathematical. They teach us about precision, the permanent state of the stars. We get letters from the stars. Pyramids are literally permanent mathematical teachers. That's very good interpretation of it, Mike. Very good interpretation. Teachers solely meant to remind us of what we are capable of as well. That's very good interpretation of them. I mean, they have lasted longer than many other formations, many other structures man has built, and they always fill open minds with such levels of awe and levels of questioning, and maybe perhaps that was some of their original intended purposes. A permanent carved in stone monument to the greatnesses of mankind and what we are capable of. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Very great description there, Mike. All right, folks. Well, again, sorry for the cutout of the stream midway through tonight. I won't keep you guys any later. I know it's late for you all. It's late for me too. I will see you 10:30 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night live for our Open Lines Friday episode. We'll talk more on pyramids and many more topics at hand. And until then, question everything, friends, and have a great rest of your night. Thanks for stopping by tonight.